I've concluded through my own analytic and research that the economic recession is in the rearview mirror. I think history will indicate at some point in time, Rev, that we had an economic depression. And I understand negative growth of 2 consecutive quarters is the technical definition of a recession. This was far more incidental than that. I mean, I'm still arguing that at some point in time when economists and experts properly and in a very timely fashion evaluate what happened in 07, 08, 09, 10, 11, and 12, it will not just be a recession. It will border on an economic depression. So we've come out of the technical definition is still recession. So we've come out of the economic recession, and things look brighter as it relates to the economy. And I'm thinking about the midterms, and I'm thinking about, it should be all about the economy. I debated last week whether Trump should be talking more about the economy and less about immigration. He apparently believes he's on the right track because all weekend he just beat that drum. In fact, he said barbed wire is a beautiful thing. I think that's funny because I don't take him literally. It goes back to some of the things we've talked about over the past couple of years. When Trump says barbed wire is a beautiful thing, I mean, the media and the elites and the establishment and the political followers are, that's un-American. I mean, you can't say that. That's hateful. That's fear-mongering. That's all these. I mean, you don't take Trump. I mean, we all know exactly what he's inferring. We know exactly what he means. But I believe that we are now in the throes of a political recession. And I think it borders on a political depression.
A political recession.
Well, I used the word last week, politainment. And I think politics has become kind of the art of entertainment. And I think Trump has really exacerbated that to the point that we can't deal with it as we normally do and traditionally have. But I think that we are in an extended period of time where the political orbit, for whatever reason, cannot gain any trust of the American public. It's more about, and I think the strategy that Trump's employing indicates the political depression / recession that I think we're in, because I think in traditional times, and in the most traditional sense, it would make perfect sense for Trump to go on the campaign trail Saturday and Sunday and talk about 250,000 new jobs, 3% wage increase. Those are normally what it takes to win an election. But I think Trump understands, and I thought about it over the weekend, I think Trump understands that the way you motivate people to go to the poll is not to encourage them to go to the poll, but to make them afraid not to go. In other words, if you tell the voters of Missouri and North Dakota and Texas and Florida and Ohio and Pennsylvania and a handful of other states that you need to go to the poll so we can keep this economic, charge in high gear. You're asking people to be encouraged to move to go to the. If you don't go to the poll, we won't continue to have job reports of 250,000 jobs and 3% wage growth. I think Trump believes the best way to get people to go to the poll is if you don't come to the poll, they're going to let all these people in your country, they're going to take your jobs, they're going to take your welfare, they're going to become a part of the subsistence programs of the American federal government, and you're going to subsidize it. And I think people subconsciously say, well, I don't want that. I think they celebrate the 250,000 jobs. They celebrate the 3% wage growth. They celebrate the positive economic news that has come from the Trump agenda. And the biggest joke in politics today is Barack Obama running around the country trying to validate himself. I mean, he's trying to run around. I mean, he's really making, for people that kind of could take Obama or leave him, he's really making a fool of himself when he goes around saying, well, you know where this economic recovery started, don't you? Mm-hmm. To which I'll offer the same question I have offered for 2 consecutive years. Somebody call in here and tell me a piece of legislation that the president advanced that was good for the economy. EPA grew by about 600%. Regulations went up by 300%. GDP growth averaged about 1.8% in the 8 years he was president, but now he wants to all of a sudden take credit for something that he said was impossible.
I know.
I mean, he said there is no way to get this economy moving at the pace that Donald Trump, where's the magic wand? I think it was his exact. Well, now he's running around saying, well, you know, where it's a little bit, it's the first time I've ever seen him appear to be insecure. And if you really listen closely, there's some insecurity in what he's saying, because big bad Donald Trump with his jacket wide open and his tie hanging down to his knees, he doesn't. I mean, it's just what it is. And it really makes Obama look small. I mean, there's a big commanding, you know, weird hair, doesn't care. You know, barbed wire's a beautiful thing, a brash New Yorker. And then on the other side, you've got Obama, who's this articulate, you know, polished academic. And he looks small. I mean, he really looks and sounds small when he's out rallying his troops while Trump is rallying his. And for him to say, you know, well, you know where this rally started. You know where you hear Donald Trump and the Republicans running around talking about the economy. You know who got this economy. Nobody buys that. Nobody but the Kool-Aid drinkers believe that. Now, the Kool-Aid drinkers believe anything out of one side or the other. I mean, they do. The right has Kool-Aid drinkers. The left has Kool-Aid drinkers. The Gamecocks have Kool-Aid drinkers. The Tigers have Kool-Aid drinker. I ain't a Kool-Aid drinker. Barack Obama deserves zero credit for the economic rejuvenation in this country. There's nothing he did while serving as president of the United States that gave momentum to the private sector. Now, he could argue, well, we did the stimulus. The stimulus is not legislation. The stimulus is not a part of an agenda. The stimulus was an infusion of cash to generate velocity of money in the private sector, particularly the financial industries. It was a favor to Wall Street. I mean, let's be honest. This wasn't about the working man, the working woman, the family of four making 60 grand a year, 100, whatever that number is. There's an arbitrary number there. That's the average median income of the U.S. American family. That was not about this. It was about, you know, putting the wind in the sails of Wall Street. I mean, Bush did it, and then Obama did it. It was nothing about rejuvenating or making good the promise of the American dream. It was to restore values to assets in Wall Street that had been so ravished. I mean, that's why they did it. And that's why we ended up with Donald Trump. But for Obama to run around the country saying, you know, I'm the reason that the Trump economy is working as well as it is. I mean, if you believe that, then turn the radio off right now. I mean, I'm serious. Turn to some other variety of entertainment, because we're a little more serious. We're not rocket scientists on this show, rest assured, but we're a little more serious than that. Barack Obama, let me reiterate, Barack Obama deserves zero credit for what's happening in the economy today. It's all about a business guy who understands the private sector.